Jimmy Carter was born in Plains, Georgia in 1924. His father, James Carter Sr., was a successful local businessman who ran a general store and had started a farm. Jimmy's mother, Bessie Gordy, was a nurse at the local hospital. After school, Jimmy worked on his family farm. When he was a teenager, Jimmy's father gave him an acre of farmland to work for himself. He turned his plot of land into a peanut farm, which he packaged and sold around town. Although Jimmy grew up playing with African American children who lived and worked near his home, laws kept African American children from attending the same school that Jimmy attended. He also noticed that not everyone in town had a farm, and many didn't have land or jobs. People who had no work or food would often come to the Carter family farm. Jimmy's mother never turned anyone away and would let them earn food or money by doing chores around the farm. One of the people that the Carters helped put a mark on the family's mailbox, signaling to others who needed help that the Carter family was kind. Jimmy Carter would later say that his mother taught him much about compassion. Another lesson Jimmy learned working on a farm was the value of hard work. He worked hard at everything he did, which is why in 1941 he graduated at the top of his high school class. He would later graduate from Georgia Tech and was accepted to the Naval Academy, where he was assigned to work on submarines. While in the Navy, he met his sister's best friend, Rosalind Smith, who he would marry shortly after graduating from Georgia Tech. Jimmy's father died in 1953, so he and Rosalind and their 3 sons returned home to Plains, Georgia to take over the family business. He took the knowledge he had learned in college and in the Navy and set out to grow the family's peanut business. Upon returning to Plains, Georgia, Jimmy noticed that little had changed for African Americans. They still couldn't vote or go to the same schools that he attended, and very few owned their own land. In fact, many people in Plains were poor, as there were very few jobs. Jimmy Carter knew he could help the people of Plains, Georgia. He believed that all people should be treated equally. When he found out that African American children were not permitted to swim at the local swimming pool, Jimmy helped build another pool where everyone was allowed to swim. Jimmy Carter soon realized that the best way to make the laws fair for everyone was to work in government. Working in government, he could work to change the laws for the better. So by 1961, he was a prominent member of the community and his church, as well as a chairman of the Sumter County School Board. In 1962, he was elected to the Georgia State Senate, where he worked to change the laws that forced African American children to attend separate schools. The laws did not change, however, because he was unable to convince other lawmakers who disagreed with him. After 2 terms as senator, Jimmy decided to run for governor of Georgia. Although he and Rosalind worked hard, he lost the election. 4 years later, he again ran for governor of Georgia and won. Carter was sworn in as the 76th governor of Georgia in 1971. He declared in his inaugural speech that the time of racial segregation was over. As governor, he wanted every person in Georgia to have equal rights. Governor Carter was the first Georgia governor to add pictures of prominent African American leaders to the portraits that hung in the Georgia Capitol. Portraits such as Martin Luther King and Lucy Craft Laney, and many others. Jimmy was re-elected and served 2 terms as governor of Georgia. Jimmy Carter's time in the Navy and as governor of Georgia allowed him to see places outside of the state of Georgia and other countries. His desire to help everyone, not just the people of Georgia, led him to run for president in 1974. He won the presidency in 1976 and became the 39th president of the United States. Jimmy Carter made sure to hire minorities for jobs in his government cabinet. He focused on laws to keep the air and drinking water clean and safe from contamination. He more than doubled the amount of land set aside for national parks. Jimmy Carter also wanted to bring peace to nations at war. He brought the leaders of Egypt and Israel together in 1978. Israel and Egypt had been at war for many years, but Carter knew if he could get the leaders to sit and talk long enough, they could reach a peaceful agreement to stop the fighting. Following the end of Jimmy Carter's presidential term in 1981, he and his wife returned home to the family peanut farm. In the years that followed his presidency, he has led an active life. establishing the Carter Center in 1982, building his presidential library, teaching at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, and writing numerous books. He has also contributed to the expansion of Habitat for Humanity, which builds affordable housing for those in need. In 1999, he and his wife Rosalind were awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom for their humanitarian work. In 2002, President Carter became the second Georgian to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. He and Martin Luther King Jr. are the only two Georgians to receive such an honor. Jimmy Carter has been alive longer after leaving the White House than any other U.S. president. He has battled cancer and won. All the while, he has continued to be a tireless activist for peace and justice for all people around the world.